Hey y'all, Jake at McCord Farm Project. This is mostly for like Bobby and Lil Zay and for my grandbabies, because the other day Patrick shot a deer. Okay, just stay with me. It'll all make sense in a minute.
Dude, we're trying to make good content!
Dude, man, Monday and Tuesday, low was down in the daggum 30s. Today's Saturday. This is what I walked to the stand in, and I was pouring sweat when I got there. It was like 60 degrees when I walked into the stand. It was like 98, 99. 1214, I'm not really sure. I don't have a thermometer on me. Look here, man. I'm at the 300-acre piece of property. We've been hunting out here, I'd say probably about 5 years or so. And I know where the deer move. I seen a big old gollywhopper this morning. Oh, I shot at him too. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. He was bounding across. He acted like he was gonna come in from behind me. So I whistled at, I guess he saw me, I don't know. There's it looks like this tree right here. Actually, it looks just like this. It's right this direction behind me. And I don't look over there because I can't see through that mess. So all of a sudden I hear, I turn and look, and he was coming up right beside that tree. I guess I don't know if he saw me or if he just knew something. You know, them big ones, they just know, hey, something ain't right. But I don't know if he did that, whatever happened. He took off running, and I whistled at him, and he stopped. But he stopped right behind the daggum tree. And I was gonna take a headshot anyway. I didn't care. I mean, you know, a big old rack. I don't want to hit his antler, but a big old rack, I don't care nothing about that. Unless he's like a 12 point or a 14 point or something like that. I don't care nothing about no daggum rack on a deer. But I whistled, all I could see was his daggum eyes and his nose. That's all I could see. And I took a shot at his eye, and he took off running across the daggum cutover. So I would assume that I missed, you know what I mean? That sucks, hey, that really sucks. But at the same time, dude, that's a big deer. I would have been dragging that sucker, even to get him to the road, I've been dragging that sucker for like 2 hours. And it's hot, 97 degrees outside. Good Lord, that sucker would have been spoiled. Buzzards would have been flying around me and stuff, landing on top of me, pecking me in the back of the head and stuff. It's me again. Hey, I told y'all that story to tell y'all this story. The other day, Patrick shot a deer. And me and Nick, we've been hunting since we was like, I don't know, I was like 18 years old. We taught ourselves how to hunt. My daddy didn't deer hunt. I read everything I know about deer hunting. I learned from reading magazines and watching videos and stuff like that. And I taught myself how to deer hunt. I ain't gonna say I know everything, but I know a lot of stuff. Me and Nick was about 16. He started hunting with me. I was 18, he was 16. So, I mean, we've been around the block a couple of times. But Patrick shot this deer, and when we saw Patrick again, Nick said, "Tell me the story." All right. Patrick said, "Man, I was sitting in a tree stand, and the deer come out, and I shot him." Nick said, "That's it?" Patrick said, "Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened." I was like, good Lord, what the heck is going on here? So this is for them little babies, man. My grandbabies, Bobby, little Zay. This is for them to go back and watch, okay? Y'all might get something out of it, but hey, it's for them. You can watch it if you want to. The art of the story is lost on y'all kids. Addison and Patrick and I don't know, them girls, they tell a decent story. I mean, they tell a girl style story, you know what I mean? They tell a decent story, but it don't get into no detail, you know what I'm saying? If I shoot a big old buck, I'm fixing to tell you the story about how I shot a buck. I just told you that story about how I missed a buck, you know what I'm saying? If I shot a buck, and it was a big buck, and I'm finna start off the story like something like, you know, man, I was sitting in the stand, and all of a sudden the fog lifted. It was probably like 27 degrees outside, and as soon as that fog lifted, man, I could hear something crunching through the wood, and then, like out of nowhere, this sucker just appeared out there in front of me. Or I say, it was like 27 degrees and the fog lifted. And all of a sudden, it was like that sucker got beamed down by aliens, man. He just appeared out of nowhere. He was right there in front of me. Or I say, this sucker just appeared like he come through a portal from another dimension or something. Good Lord. Or, hey, something like this right here, man. Hey, I was sitting in my stand. Hey, the barometric pressure, man, it's about like 30.9 or something. I mean, it was going down, but I don't know, man. It was kind of foggy, a little bit foggy. Temperature probably about 62 degrees. It was a little bit muggy out, but I was still willing to give it a shot. I was sitting there playing my video game. I looked up, and there he was. Or I'll say, I was playing Heyday, Candy Crush. I just got finished playing Forge of Empires. I was playing Road Blockers. I was sitting there playing daggum Clash of Clans, playing Donkey Kong on my 2600 Atari. And I looked up, great googly move. That sucker was huge. I couldn't do nothing. I started shaking so bad. I couldn't hardly get my heart under control. I was palpitating like a mother. Or I say, hey, if I was one of y'all kids, I say, hey, look, man, I was sitting in my tree stand. Barometric pressure was going down. It was like 30.2. Daggum temperature was like, probably like, I don't know, it probably had to be like 32, 34 degrees or something. The wind was blowing out of the northwest, and it was blowing at my back. And I wasn't expecting no deer to come out in front of me, so I was sitting there playing Fortnite on my Xbox 360. I looked up, and there that sucker was. And good Lord, he appeared out of nowhere. I started shaking. My heart started palpitating. I tried to get my composure. Had to take a couple deep breaths. I laid the crosshairs down on it, and all I could see was this big old enormous rack standing out there. Good Lord, I about had a heart attack. Or I say, hey man, I was sitting there in the stand, and I thought I heard something, and I looked over there, and I thought it was just a leaf, but it ended up being a tail flicker. It was just a deer wiggling his nose like that. And that sucker was down there rubbing his butt on a tree, scratching his butt. It was just a daggum deer with his antlers stuck in a spider web or something. There, ear flapping. I started looking down through there, and sure enough, it was a big old gargantuan. And that sucker stood up out of the grass, and I thought it was Jaws coming at me. My heart started beating real fast. I thought I was getting ready to get attacked or something. It scared me to death. I thought it was a deer standing right over there on that hill just running at me. It was a daggum limb. I thought he was coming to kill me. You don't tell stories like that in my woods. Good Lord. My heart started palpitating. Thought I saw a deer. Turned out it was just a squirrel. I'm just kidding. I shot him. It was a big one. And then after you take the shot, man, you got to talk about, man, look, it don't matter if it's 60 degrees outside. It don't matter if it's 87 degrees, 90 degrees. It don't matter if it's 22 degrees or 8 degrees. Hey, as soon as you take that shot, man, I started shaking. I was freezing cold, man. It's like I was freezing cold. I was sitting there shaking, man. I knew I put a good shot on it, and I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't sit still, man. I tried to sit there for like 30, 45 minutes and wait for him to lay down and die, but I just couldn't do it, man. I was shaking too bad. I had to get down. So I got down, I walked around for a little bit before I even went over there to look for the blood trail. But then when I got on it, man, there was a blood trail. It looked like somebody poured out a bucket of paint It looked like somebody done busted a hole in a 5-gallon bucket and was just leaking paint all over the ground, man. It was just a blood trail. It looked like daggum mud on a runway. You know what I mean? It was daggum just leading me straight to this sucker. And I walking through the woods, and the blood started getting a little bit thin. And then next thing I know, I started getting, I was getting a little bit worried, because I didn't know if maybe I didn't put a good enough shot on him, or I didn't put a good a shot as I thought I did. And I started getting a little bit nervous. I started looking for blood, and I found a little spot here and a little spot there. And then I looked up, and good Lord, there he was. That sucker looked like he weighed 314 pounds standing over there. It was a little 80-pound spike, but hey, man, I thought that sucker looked like he was about 314 pounds, man. I was so excited. My heart started beating again a little bit. I had to get my composure. I walked over there. I poked him with my gun a couple times to make sure he was dead. And then I grabbed his rack. And I realized, darn, I killed a little tiny spike. That sucker wasn't even a big old buck, man. Or you say, hey, man, I got over there to him, and good Lord, it was a doe. Huh? He must have been standing behind a cedar tree, and I saw all that trash over there on that cedar tree, and I thought that was a rack or something. Good Lord, it was a little 60-pound doe. Still has spots on it or something. Good Lord. Nah. Or you get over there and you say, man, I got it. And then I take a picture of it. And then when I get to this part of the story, when you get to this part of the story, that's when you pull your phone out, you know what I'm saying? If you kill a gargantuan. This is when you get to that part of the story. You say, look at this sucker right here. You pull out your phone, you say, look at it. Hey, I didn't have nothing on me but my daggum flip phone. Look at that sucker right there. He big as I don't know what, man. He takes up the whole screen. He takes up the whole screen on that daggum phone. Good Lord, that sucker's huge. Hey, it is what it is. Hunting's hunting, you know what I mean? It ain't no darn science, or no exact science anyway. It's kind of scientific. Let me tell you what, deer patterns and deer movement and all that stuff. Hey, you can learn a lot from just listening to people. Hey, listen to some old people. Go ask an old man about the first time they ever killed a big buck. Hey, they'll tell you the story. They'll tell you, that sucker be from 1942 or something. This old man be like 97 years old. And he'll tell you a story just like I just told you. He'll tell you a story. He'll tell you about how he was walking in and the grass was a little bit wet. And when I got to the stand, my britches was a little bit wet. And he'll say, hey, back in them days, man, we had to build our own stands. We just had old wooden stand leaned up against the tree. We didn't have this fangle-dangle metal stuff like y'all got. All this darn creative stuff y'all got out here. He'll say, man, we had to make our own stuff. I got to the stand, my britches was a little bit wet, and it was kind of cold outside. And I got up in the stand, and I got a little shiver going up my spine. And I knew something was about to happen. And then I turned over there. The wind was blowing a little bit out of the northwest. It was blowing in my face a little bit, so I knew he wasn't gonna be able to smell me. And I saw that sucker coming across the darn. He was coming out from under a darn mulberry tree. Them old people, man, that's all they talk about is mulberries. I don't know why. Mulberries are good. They taste like water to me, but hey, it is what it is. I saw him, he was coming out from under that mulberry tree. And I was thinking to myself, man, if I had me a bucket, I'd go down there and pick me some of them mulberries. But I didn't have no bucket, so I figured I'd just shoot this big old buck. And I pulled my darn, they didn't have no scopes back then either. I pulled up my trusty old 30-30 Marlin, 30-30. I put the iron sights, I threw the iron sights right down on him. And I squeezed the trigger off. And kapoom! And that sucker rolled. He probably cut about 4 flips through the leaves and the grass down there. And he started kicking and fussing. And he jumped up, and I thought I missed him, because he jumped up and he took off running. But he didn't go far. I heard him. He crashed down about 50 yards later. And I walked down there, and that sucker was just dead down there. I didn't even have to trail him. But it took me like 4 days to get him out of the woods, because I was like 2 miles back in there. And this was back before they had roads and stuff. So I had to walk him down through the valley and up through the creek. And I had to drag him over this big hill. And it was snowing. Did I say it was snowing? It was about 4 feet of snow on the ground. And I couldn't hardly see. The wind was blowing, and the daggum light was so bright it was shining in my eyes. I was getting snow blindness. But hey, I got him out of there. I got that sucker mounted. But hey, when the house burnt down in '62, I couldn't get that old head out of there. I'd show you what he looked like. Hey, we didn't have no cameras back then either, so I couldn't take no picture. And then wait like 10 minutes for that sucker to, materialize. I couldn't wait for that, cause it would have took too long. He probably would have seen that flash go off, and it would have scared him. Just a little something to think about, kids, okay? Hey, when you get down out of your tree stand, after you done shot your biggin, okay? Just think about your story, man, okay? It won't hurt. Hey, go on your little weather app and look and see what the temperature was whenever you got in the woods. Hey, was it raining? Was it clear? Was it cold? I mean, come on, man. Small details make a lot in a story, you know what I mean? The art of the story is the details, you know what I mean? The more you can remember or make up, the better the story will be. Let me tell you what, okay? Hey, this is coming to you straight from the source at McCord Farm Project. Hey, if you're gonna tell a story, you tell a gooder, okay? Don't just tell me the deer came out and I shot him. What is that mess? I don't wanna hear that. Good Lord, I expect my wife to say that. Hey, I was walking in the grocery store and there was a watermelon, so I picked it up. What? Come on, man. Tell me the story. Hey, sometimes when you get down in the woods and you're sitting there and it's so quiet and peaceful, you don't hear nothing, not even a squirrel making any noise in the leaves. All of a sudden you hear and that sucker's getting closer and closer. Man, you start breathing heavy. You start thinking to yourself, is it gonna be a doe? Is it gonna be a little cow horn? Is it gonna be the gargantuan? What's the thing getting ready to be? Oh, and then it's getting closer and closer, man. It's quiet, it's dead still outside, it's dead quiet. That's too big, man, that's huge, that sounds huge. It can't be no squirrel. All of a sudden, here come a little squirrel jumping out on a daggum tree with a hickory nut in his daggum mouth. Hey, I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you I ain't never thought about dropping the daggum crosshairs down on the darn little squirrel, daggum tree rat out there running around with a hickory nut in his mouth. I wanna shoot that darn nut right out of his mouth. See what he looks like. That sucker be standing there with his mouth open like that. He's an idiot. Here's to telling a good story, okay? And then like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can get the notification. Hey, if you think these videos are funny, I think they're funny. I laugh and laugh. When I'm editing these videos, man, I just laugh and laugh and laugh. But look, if you think these videos are funny, share them out there with your friends, man. I gotta get me some daggum subscribers. I ain't getting paid for doing none of this stuff. I'm just doing it because I'm having fun. But I would like to get paid something, you know what I mean? Hey, McCord Farm Project, out.